just a 14 blind separation, and then of course you have Siddiqui at the bottom with 11. Really, creates some interesting dynamics where everyone's like, I don't want to be the next one to go.
Daniel's played a lot of poker. James and I have watched a lot of poker, and what tends to happen in these situations is no one wants to go out first, but when it starts happening, it's bing, 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 and then we've got some pretty decent-sized stacks.
Bing, bam, boom.
That's right, and a battle ensues.
Bada bing, bada boom.
You get a mini bust-out bonanza. Hey. Sorrentino has raised here with King 9. He's made it 525,000. Siddiqui finds himself dominated once again.
So Sorrentino's really, he's taking advantage of what he's seeing. You always have to be perceptive as a poker player. He notices, you know what? People are playing really tight right now. So I'm going to go ahead and steal. I'm going to pick up 2 big blinds. I'm going to pick up the blinds and antes and keep pushing them around. If they pick up a big hand and raise me, fine, I'll just fold. But I'm gonna be the table captain.
People are gonna be playing pretty tight until Usman Siddiqui goes out or doubles up. He's down to 11 big blinds. This is the time for him where he needs to start taking more and more risks.
Perfect example of aggression paying off, right? Doesn't seem like a big deal. He just took up the blinds and antes, but at this point, that's very valuable. It allows him to, create some separation between him and the rest of the field.
Hashtag PokerStarsTV for your questions and comments. Gerard gets back in touch. He says, I wish there was more chatting and banter between the players, and I'm sure Daniel would as well. The thing is, it's very hard to be bantery when you're playing for such big sums. These guys want to be focused.
I wonder what language, they all speak a different language,
well,
right?
That is also true. I think most of them speak English, but at the same time, and this is something to put into context as well, this is day 6 of 6, and the last 3 days, and we know because we followed the action, have been 12-hour days. I imagine these guys are now pretty exhausted, and they need to be on their A game. They need to stay sharp.
I think it's just a personality thing. I think if you have a couple players there that are comfortable and are chit-chatting normally, they will continue to be. But you're right. At the final table, the level of intensity increases. The chit-chat kind of takes a back seat to focus.
You can't expect people to be super comfortable playing for 1.4 million euros.
Right, and obviously these guys are all players who put up their own money to enter this event. They're not professional entertainers, right? They're not responsible in terms of their view of I don't have to put on a show here. I'm here to do what's best for me, which is win this tournament. And if that means wearing a Miami Dolphins scarf around my face, so be it. I like that yesterday. I don't know if you saw yesterday. He had the man bun going. He's gone a little. Don't you think it looks better?
I do, Daniel.
Let it fly. Yeah. Just have a theory.
I don't like man buns, but it's more of a gluten thing for me.
I just have a theory that anyone wearing a man bun, you could come up with a style that probably looks better. Maybe I'm wrong.
Sorensen has raised from the small blind. It's a sizable raise, 875,000.
I mean, have you ever wore a man bun? I would imagine it would hurt too, no? Stressful.
Eventually
Painful.
Yeah.
Give you headaches.
Or just painful from all the dirty looks people give you.
So we've been running our competition here on PokerStars TV, giving away WCoop satellite tickets. Thanks to everyone who entered yesterday's contest. We are going to have another competition today. There will be more chances for you to win, but congratulations to these 5 PokerStars players. Rinkin at 8, Kenny, Oknarasin, Kit Kat, and Pedro. You will all receive $55 WCoop satellite tickets, and you will go into the big draw to win a Prague package. You could be playing in the National Championship event in Prague just before Christmas. So details of today's contest coming soon.
Break me off with that piece of that PokerStars prize.
Action here on Andre Akari. Ace King.
Well, this is a spot where Andre's hoping to get some action, specifically from a hand like Ace Queen, Ace Jack, or even someone with Ace 9 who just decides enough's enough. Siddiqui doesn't need too big of a hand to get in. That's not going to do it.
So Andre's made it 550,000.
All right, minimal Hollywood, nothing problematic there.
Sebastian Sorensen on the button. Passes. Brian Kaufman is the small blind in this hand. He folds the 9 at 5. Raffaele Sorrentino is in the big blind.
Pretty easy fold so far.
Sorrentino has pocket threes.
550.
Well, this is a spot where I think Sorrentino's just going to call. A hand like 2 threes, it's usually pretty easy to play after the flop, right? If you catch a 3, bingo, you're in great shape. If you don't catch a 3, there's usually overcards, and it's a pretty easy fold most of the time.
No set, no bet.
There you go. Now, they're a little too deep, meaning you're looking at the chip leader and second chip leader. It's a little too deep to get it all in before the flop. But if the flop comes like king 8-3, that could be the end of Andre.
This is one of those flops Daniel was talking about. Should be pretty easy for Sorrentino to get away from. 3 over cards. He does not even have a spade in his hand.
Yeah, you've got 2 red 3s. It comes like that. No big deal. Easy fold. Even if you get bluffed occasionally, so what?
Continuation bet from Andre Akari. He raised before the flop. He bets the flop. 475,000 into a pot of 1.375 million and a fold from Sorrentino.
Andre shows the ace-king. You know, in my opinion, I'd rather, when I have 2 red 3s, have the flop come like that than it come like king, jack, 3. Excuse me, not 3. Sorry. Excuse me.
King Jack 4. Let's go with that.
Yeah, exactly.
So still pretty tight at the top between Akari and Sorrentino. Andre with the slight lead right now. Osman Siddiqui still the low man at the table. 11 big blinds. 45 minutes left to run on this level.
What I was trying to say there, them flopping some kind of draw, like some kind of, you know,
Like a Jack 9-6 board or something.
just something where like you can convince yourself to call one time, you know, when it comes like 2-4 or something, you know, and you're like, oh, I can pick up a straight draw on the turn. Maybe
I'd say
they don't have
definitely
it.
for like, you know, for beginning players and novice
That's
players.
me, obviously.
That, you know, that can be, there can be a lot of tough spots with those small pairs to
Yeah.
continue. As you get more experience and you know what flop textures are good for the hand. Like if it comes 3, like deuce, 6, that's a pretty good flop for 2 3s. Because if your opponent raised before the flop, that means he either had
Yeah,
you
that's
beat
the
already.
flop I don't want.
Well, that's a decent flop.
I believe you. Don't get me wrong. It's just I'd rather have like a
Make it
fold.
easy.
I can be
I
confident
either
about.
want to flop quads,
Yep.
4 of a kind, or nothing.
See ya.
Yeah. Joe, that's what we call, it's a new term I'm going to give you. It's called exploitable.
Yeah.
Siddiqui just not getting the cards right now. Jack 4, that goes in the muck. Sorensen folds. Kaufman folds the button. Blind on blind once again. Sorrentino in the small.
Now, we saw Sorrentino just call in this position last time, and I would suspect he's probably going to do the same thing this time. But I think fold's out of the question. He's not the kind of guy that's afraid to, you know, go for it here. So it's either a call or raise, and I'm guessing call.
Sorrentino calls, so the option is with Lachazar Petkov, who mainly plays heads up sit and goes and $100 spin and goes online. He did come 62nd in the PokerStars Championship event in Macau earlier this year.
Daniel, Jack 9. You just take a flop here, or do you?
Yeah, this is one of those things where it plays pretty well. I think the dynamic with Siddiqui having just 11 big blinds right now is kind of handcuffing people from making like bold moves. And this is another spot here where, like I said before, the player who wants it more is going to win it. Sorrentino flopped a straight draw. He can catch an 8 for a straight. Petkov, absolutely nothing. The question is Sorrentino going to bet here? I think so, yeah. Which if you're Petkov, you got to say, I don't know, man. You're trying to tell me you have an ace and you just limped in there? But
What can he do, though?
You just have, yeah. You can bluff, but probably wait for a better situation. So Sorrentino with the worst hand, you saw he was only 25% to win, right? Now it's 100% because he showed aggression. And that's the common theme in the last 30 minutes of what we've seen from Sorrentino. A willingness to be more aggressive than his opponents.
Robert Needham tweets to say, I've just read an email confirming I've got tickets for Poker in the Ears Live. See you guys at the Hippodrome. Don't know if you heard about this, Daniel. To celebrate our 100th episode, we're going to do the podcast live on stage at the Hippodrome in London's West End to an invited audience. We're going to have a poker tournament afterwards, giving away tournament tickets. Should be a lot of fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
You know what I just realized? We're going to be performing in the same building that huge musical acts have performed in over the years.
Tuesday, the 26th of September. If you are a UK player, you can get your tickets for free via the reward store on PokerStars.
Can I name any of those acts off the top of my head? No. But I'm going to say the Rolling Stones, maybe?
So now Siddiqui, right? 11 bigs, queen 10 offsuit. Doesn't look like a great hand, but look at the garbage he's been getting before that. 6 deuce, jack 4. He's looking at this hand thinking, man, I might not get a better hand than this. So this could be a situation where he decides to... He's only got one move right now. It's just all in or nothing. And this is a situation that's pretty close. You could argue both sides. I think because of the chip stacks sitting the way they are, I like an all-in. I like going for it. Gamble it up. Our opponents are playing pretty tight. You know, they're not going to... For example, Sorensen wouldn't have called with Jack 9 suited. I think he would have got away with it. That's just my feeling.
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see all these hands.
So a hand like Jack 9 suited, right? I'm surprised he's playing very tight. We saw him fold King Deuce suited in the cutoff, Jack 9 suited now. So Sorensen clearly dedicated to waiting out Siddiqui before he opens up his game.
Kaufman probably would not have called with King 9 either.
Nope, so far we were clear.
Well, he's raised it to 525,000. Petkov is in the small blind. He's got Queen Jack.
That could have played.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
But it's suited.
So now you're sitting there with your Petkov and you're sitting on a 31 blind stack. You're up against Kaufman, who we saw play jacks very carefully. So you wonder, like, what am I going to do here? And I think a lot of options available. You could flat, you could fold, you could decide to raise it. But if you raise it, you're putting yourself in a really bad spot if he moves all in.
Does just calling give away your hand strength a little bit?
I think a little bit. I think a little bit. It allows your opponent to put you on a range of hands like
Queen Jacks.
Yes,
King
like
Jacks
Jack 10
and Queen
suited.
10, yeah.
So for Kaufman here, he has to decide: am I going to try to continuation bet and steal this pot, or am I just going to wave the white flag? That looks like a dangerous board that Petkov might hit, so he does decide to give up. Try to give himself a free shot at a king.
Deuce on the turn.
So now Petkov knows, listen, I got the best hand. The question is, how do I play it? Do I bet here, protect it, or do I check and hope Kaufman bluffs at it?
I'm leaning on the side of bet.
Yeah, I think bet because we saw Kaufman, played those jacks so carefully. He doesn't seem like the type of player that's going to, do a lot of elaborate bluffing. So I would go ahead and protect these jacks right now.
$650,000.
Well, Kaufman is not thinking about calling, right? The only thing he could be thinking about is, can he make a move and, bluff this pot through? I think what's he doing? He's going to make he called?
Yes.
What the?
Okay, Daniel, because this is a little confusing. Is he calling because he thinks King High might be the best hand, or is that a float and he's going to try to bluff the river?
That's such a risky, strange play from Kaufman to just call here. I can't imagine he thinks King High is good. When Petrov calls in the small blind, he represents a pretty strong range. Now the aces come.
This is an interesting card, though, right? Because Petkov might be a little bit worried. He might check, and then Kaufman can legitimately bluff with this.
If Petkov checks here, Kaufman must bluff at this ace. The question is, will he? If he doesn't bluff at this ace, then this was a very poorly played hand by Kaufman. If he does bluff at it, it ends up looking like genius, but wow.
There's the check from Petkov.
Is that kind of understandable from Petkov that Kaufman's going to call with ace high sometimes on the turn?
If Kaufman had a hand like ace king, he might check the flop, you bet the turn, and he might call. Also might do it with king 9 apparently. But I think now for Kaufman, he just very lucky. Even though he doesn't actually have the ace, he's very lucky that card came. Because there's very few cards Petkov would even consider folding on the river.
900,000. It's a relatively small bet.
It might be too small. So now you might make Petkov a little too curious with that very small bet. He's getting a very good odds to call.
And he's got second pair. It's a decent hand. He's only really worried about the ace.
And the most obvious flop draws also missed.
He's getting 4-1 odds on this call. if you were Kaufman and you were trying to like push this guy around, you probably should have bet more in this spot and make it more difficult of a decision.
So obviously, Daniel, we know what 4-1 means. We know that it's only 900,000 for him to win
3.65.
But isn't there something people say he only has to be right? You can take those.
Sure. So basically, if you're sitting here in your Petkov, you basically only have to be right 1 out of 4 times. That's pretty good odds in a spot in this situation. It's a weirdly played hand. Like, it's just strange. So now Petkov is going through all the possible hands. Okay, so Kaufman raised a flip-flop. Got it. So now I checked. He checked back. Now I bet, and he called me, and the ace came, and now he bet after I checked. So there's a lot of hands with an ace in it, and he can't beat that. So really tough decision here.
And if you did call with ace high on the turn, and you did hit your ace, you might go for a little bit more value than this, right?
Well, I don't know if that's true necessarily. I think that, if you did hit the ace, maybe you do want to get called, right? So you want to give the guy a good price. He's definitely taking his time.
That would certainly make it more confusing then.
Well, he's counted out the 900,000, but he has not yet called the bet. 1 burgundy chip, 4 black chips. Go across the line. He calls Kaufman's bluff. And Petkov will win a not insignificant pot.
So obviously you never want to be too critical because you never know what it's like to be in these situations. But I think Kaufman's made 2 huge mistakes so far today. One with the 4 jacks, he didn't maximize value, and here ran a bluff in a spot that just got sniffed out, and the bet sizing was weird.
What is you being very critical then?
Oh, that wasn't.
You said you shouldn't be too critical, and you go, but 2 huge mistakes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was.
Jeez, glad you sugarcoated it.
Petkov moves over the 10 million mark, and at this point, Daniel, we're going to give you a break from the booth. I know you're going to be back later. Thank you so much for your analysis so far.
All right, guys.
Daniel Negreanu from Team Pro. We're going to be joined very soon by Jamie Staples from Team Pro Online as we continue to play down to a champion here in Barcelona. Joe, we've been playing for more than an hour, and I've got to be honest, I'm really surprised we have not lost a player yet. I can't believe we are still 6-handed.
I think it is a testament to how badly the players at the table want to stay in this tournament. Andrea Cari, lots of experience. Rafaela Sorrentino, lots of experience. These other 4 guys, I think this is very likely to be their biggest shot at a $1.4 million first place prize.
Yeah, and of course, everyone expecting Usman Siddiqui to go broke anytime soon. He's now got fewer than 10 big blinds. They all want to ladder up. They all want better prize money. We've only caught one of Sorrentino's hole cards here. We talk about those microchip scanners. Sometimes if the players don't put their cards perfectly side by side in the box, we miss one of them. I'm going to hazard a guess and say he doesn't have as good a hand as Usman Siddiqui.
I'm going to wait till we see the other card.
Okay, fair enough.
Before I do not like to speculate.
Siddiqui finally with a hand. The best possible starting hand in Hold'em. Pocket aces. Fewer than 10 big blinds.
I mean, the standard move here with any hand you're going to play, 9 big blinds, is to rip it in.
Yeah.
He's probably tempted right now to not do that, but that's going to send off alarm bells.
Want you play?
Yeah. Your stack is what?
Sorrentino very surprised and mightily suspicious. King, Jack 5.
I'll say this. Just calling is a little less suspicious than putting in some sort of weird raise. The trend right now these days is to peel a lot of reasonable, sort of middle of the road hands from the big blind. Even if you're short, take a free look at the flop. A hand like Jack 5 maybe. You might go, okay, I don't want to just give these chips up. Sorrentino continuing. Following up that pre-flop raise with a bet on the flop.
Does Siddiqui get it in now? Trying to control his breathing. You can sense Siddiqui's excitement here to have such a monster hand and a chance of doubling up.
I think when he dwells this long, it's better to move all in. I think he can really convince himself, convince Sorrentino. Look, we don't know what Sorrentino's other card is, but like if he's thinking like in his mindset, I have a 5. What do I do with it? What do I do? You know what? I'm just going to rip it in with the 5 here. That's something you would consider for a long time.
Wow, he just calls.
Just call. Like I don't know in what conceivable universe that he just calls with a bad hand.
And improves to top set on the turn.
Sorrentino may very well have diamonds. This could be pretty interesting here. He may well have another wheel card, aka ace 2, 3, 4, 5.
Siddiqui checks. And Sorrentino's got to be awfully suspicious about the way Siddiqui's playing this hand.
Yeah, like what's he gonna get him to fold now?
Sorrentino does not fire again. He checks behind. This hand goes to the river, which is the 3 of diamonds. So now we really want to know what Sorrentino's other card is, because if it's a diamond, he has just sucked out on Siddiqui. He has just got there on the river. And there is no way that Siddiqui is ever folding a set of aces with most of his chips already in the pot.
Somebody get Chiquita in here because this is bananas. I don't think he will risk letting Sorrentino check behind. It's really hard with Siddiqui having the other 2 aces in the deck for Sorrentino to have something that he can really love in this spot. Other than a flush, other than a straight. And those 2 hands are very difficult to make. We know it's entirely possible that Sorrentino could have either one of those 2 hands. And he's not moving all in.
This is so bizarre.
Sorrentino just calls.
And Sorrentino
He's gonna muck, right? He does not have another diamond.
cannot be
He
a set
did
of
catch the
aces.
case ace.
550.
All the aces were out, and I guess you have to give credit to Usman Siddiqui. He kind of got max value there.
You gotta give credit to the board, I think, a little bit too.
Siddiqui near enough doubles up, now playing 17 big blinds, 4.3 million. Sorrentino drops down to 3rd in chips.
A lot of wacky play here. It's whackity schmackity doo.
Crazy stuff. So I did say we'd give you the details on today's WCOOP satellite ticket competition. Basically, we're giving away 5 satellite tickets. What we want you to do is play a real money poker hand on PokerStars. It can be cash, it can be Zoom, it can be spin and go. We need you to win with the Queen of Spades and the Queen of Diamonds as your hole cards. Queen of Spades, Queen of Diamonds, because that was the hand that John Joanda won this tournament with back in 2015. If you do that, if you unlock that achievement, we need you to send us the evidence. Take a screenshot or send us the boom link with the hand ID and the hashtag PSCWin. If you do it before midnight tonight, we'll put you into the draw. 5 winners will be drawn at random. Those 5 winners will get $55 WCOOP satellite tickets, plus all the winners from this week will go into the draw to win that PokerStars Championship Prague national event package worth €2,500.
I would like to reiterate that when we say send it, we mean on Twitter. Do not print it out and mail it to us. It will not get here on time. It's Sunday, and it's Spain. We will probably get it a month or 2 from now.
Hashtag PSCWin. Remember, it has to be the boom link or a screenshot. You must include the hand ID in your tweet, plus hashtag PSCWin. And today's hand, one more time, Queen of Spades, Queen of Diamonds. So hand 19 of the final table in this huge main event. 6 players remaining from the 1,682 who started. Action starts with a raise from Lachazir Petkov. The Bulgarian has ace-6 offsuit and he's made it 525,000.
Lachazar of the Hill people.
Sebastian Sorensen in the big blind with 7-5.
He's closing the action. He knows that there's no one that can raise after him. He might be tempted to call here. Better if it's suited, but he can make some fun stuff happen with 7-5. Of course, he does have the option to raise. And he is going to exercise that option.
Wow. Maybe everyone's getting a little bit bored. They're fed up with waiting out players, and it's like, right, let's play some poker. So Petkov made it 525,000. This re-raise from Sorensen is to 1.3 million.
I mean, this is a pretty good read from Sorensen. And, hey, this could be an even better read by Petkov.
And going by the action we've seen so far, Petkov has no reason to believe that this is a bluff.
Yeah.
I don't blame him for folding ace-6 there. So, a strong play by Sorensen. Hovering around the 9 million mark, 4th in chips overall with roughly 35 big blinds. Still 26 minutes to run on this level until the blinds go up. Usman now up to 20 big blinds and pretty much tied with Brian Kaufman on the leaderboard. Our next guest commentator in the booth, a member of Team PokerStars Pro Online. You've seen his Twitch streams, you've seen his vlogs on YouTube. He is Jamie Staples.
How's it going, guys? Final table hype.
Absolutely. Still 6 players, Jamie. Somehow we played this long without an elimination.
The last time I was here, Andre Akari had about 7 big blinds.
Well, he went down to 5 big blinds.
I'm so excited.
You actually said he was going to find the queens and double up. It was kings. So, way to be wrong, idiot.
Missed it.
Well, talking of pairs, pocket 6s here for Usman Siddiqui. Andre Akari has raised to 550,000 with Jack-8 of spades. Siddiqui with a 20 big blind stack, Jamie. What would you be doing here with 6s?
I would be shoving here. It depends on, is Akari playing aggressively? 6s is really quite a borderline hand. It's a tough spot to pull the trigger. I mean, there's a lot of money up for grabs here.
Trigger pulled.
He is presented with the red triangle that denotes he is all in. Sebastian Sorensen is having a think with Queen Jack.
Oh, come on.
Has he misread his hand?
I do think it's perfectly reasonable for everyone to think about every decision and just, even if you know what you're going to do right away.
Wow.
Whoa.
Not much thinking required when it's ace-king suited.
Reshove from Brian Kaufman with the ace-king. Everyone else has folded, the cards go on their backs, and this is a coin flip. It's what we call a race. It's 50-50 between the pocket pair and the 2 overcards.
One of the 2 hands has a slight mathematical advantage. The 2 6s, kind of like Care Bears versus My Little Pony.
So just to be clear, the triangle is against Siddiqui. He's the player at risk here, but if Kaufman loses, if 6s hold, Kaufman will be left with 1 big blind, just 425,000 chips.
Jamie Care Bears, My Little Pony. Real quick.
Care Bears.
Correct. Pocket 6s.
Cae Lorgo al floor.
5 cards to come. No ace or king on the flop. There is a club. So Kaufman looking for an ace or a king or running
Take a
clubs.
5 of spades. Take a 5 of spades.
There's a king on the turn, and now Usman Siddiqui has 1 foot out of the door. He will be eliminated in 6th place unless he hits a 6 on the river. He has 2 outs. It's got to be the 6 of clubs or the 6 of spades, or we're down to 5. Queen on the river, he is out. He cashes for 252,000 euros. The last remaining Brit is gone. 5 players now remain.
Usman is Usman.
And Brian Kaufman has gone from 5th on the leaderboard to top of the leaderboard. He's now the chip leader with 11.6 million.
And that changes the dynamic here quite a bit. Everyone was waiting for Siddiqui to go out. Well, that's happened now. There is no more legit short stack anymore. There's a short S stack, belongs to Sebastian Sorensen, but there is no player that you can just sit back and wait for now. These guys are gonna have to play some pots.
This is going to be super interesting. No clear leader. I expect someone to break out of the pack in the next hour.
So finally, the first elimination of the day, and it will not be the last. And by that I mean, over the course of the next 15 minutes towards the end of this level, and during the course of the first half of the next level, expect to see more bust outs. Look at that, Kaufman and Akari with between 40 and 45 big blinds. The other guys, all around the 35 to 39 big blind mark. It's very close. And yes, the blinds will go up in 16 minutes' time. We'll take our first break of the day, and then when we come back, the blinds will be up.
Thank you.
No pair, right? No pair.
2 pair.
And despite the fact that Daniel Negreanu said Brian
So
Kaufman
Uruguay
made
play
2
without
huge
pair, right?
mistakes so far in this tournament, he is at the top of the leaderboard.
King 8 in the small blind here. Definitely a hand you're going to want to play. It's not a great hand normally, but there's only 1 opponent left to act, which means that it's a pretty decent option.
Plus, of course, now we're 5 players, short-handed, so you can play a lot more cards, Jamie.
You can. The action ramps up the less people at the table.
And we've seen a lot of blind-on-blind confrontations so far. Well, Sorrentino decides to just call. Petkov with the option in the big blind. You can check, see a free flop, or you can raise. Jack 9 of diamonds is probably my favorite starting hand, after aces, obviously. It's such a pretty holding.
The weird thing is Jack 9 of diamonds is James' favorite starting hand. Jack 9 of clubs, his least favorite. It's bizarre. There's no real rhyme or reason to it.
So Petkov decided to check, and he's paired his 9 on the flop. He's an 84% favorite here. Sorrentino has what we call backdoors, running cards to make a straight, running cards to make a flush.
I like a bet here if you're Petkov. I think it's really likely Sorrentino would have bet a 10 on the flop, limping pre-flop. It's good to get some protection and not let that free king come off that can sometimes punish you.
It's always good, isn't it, when the exact card you want that illustrates the point you're making comes on the turn. Petkov didn't bet for protection. As a result, he gave Sorrentino a free card. Sorrentino is now a 4-1 favorite with a pair of kings and is now betting 250,000.
Not a lot Petkov can do here. Third pair, but that is likely the best hand usually in this situation. Plus, has a gut shot to go along, so queen would make a straight. Just to spot the call and see the river.
On the river card is another 9. So Petkov improves to trip 9s.
What a swingy hand, and Sorrentino's got to think he has the best hand here. Now the question is Is it better to play with a check and maybe catch a bluff from Petkov, or to bet yourself? Now he's going to find out in a second here that his king is not the best hand.
If you bet yourself, you do open yourself up to getting bluffed, but sometimes you want that to happen.
So, yeah, you could have your opponent put in a bluff and then you get to catch it. I think the main consideration is you don't want to let a 10 check. You want to charge a 10.
So 475,000 is the bet from Sorrentino. Is there any chance that Petkov raises here, or is the board too scary?
I was going to say, Jamie, this is a spot where I struggle. I tend to get not as much value as I can all the time. I think to myself, what worse hands can call me if I raise here? I do think a king will call sometimes, but there's straights out there, a pretty conceivable straight with queen jack. There are better nines.
I think it's a spot where a 9 can raise. The most obvious draw missed, which means that there's more weaker hands that are possible to bluff
So
with.
you can rep a busted flush draw here.
Absolutely. And I think there's even some worse 9s. We have to remember that in the small blind, Sorrentino's going to be playing quite a lot of hands. So it's not only going to be better 9s in this situation, sometimes there's going to be worse 9s.
Okay, good point. A lot more worse nines exist.
And there is the raise from Petkov. Going for value here with his trip 9s. Makes it 1.125 million. And Sorrentino has to decide whether to call here with top pair.
It's a tough one. The 8 of spades in Sorrentino's hand is not good for him. It blocks the sorts of hands that he wants Petkov to bluff with. So he's hoping that Petkov has an 8-7 of spades that didn't get anything on the river and needs to bluff to win. He has the 8 of spades, making it not possible. It's a really tough spot. Top pair, not that much to call, but I think if he thinks about it hard, he can get away here.
Sorrentino has looked back at his cards. Trying to judge his opponent.
Looking for physical tells, obviously, but also thinking to himself, are you capable of bluffing in this spot? And he comes to the conclusion that you are bluffing here way less often than you are making a value raise, and pitches them into the muck.
That's a good pull.
Petkov now second in chips. Again, it's important to stress that it is really, really close right now, and everyone is also really shallow. So the chip lead is going to change all the time. Sorrentino is now officially the shortest stack at the table. And bear in mind, he came into play today as chip leader. But there's not that much difference between having 35 big blinds and 46 big blinds, which is what Kaufman, the chip leader, has right now.
They basically mean the same thing. One person fighting another is disaster. You don't want to get into a 55% all-in here. You need a much bigger edge. The pay jump differences are huge.
And we talk about it being shallow. We talk about these guys not having very many chips to play with. That situation's only going to get worse in 10 minutes' time when the clock runs out on this level and the blinds then jump.
Tournament poker. It's the best, you guys. It's so great.
It's a lot to think about.
So Kaufman with King 10.
Technically the chip leader.
Raises here to 525,000. Sorrentino folds the button. Petkov in the small blind.
This is the shallowest I can remember one of our tournaments being in a long time. Five-handed. And, again, just to reiterate, shallowest meaning that just not a lot of chips in play.
It's been a battle. Huge field out there this week. So 7-5 suited in the small blind, sitting on 10 million chips.
Well, how much you play? 12?
It is an interesting opportunity to put in a 3-bet here. It's scary. I don't think I have the heart to do it, but...
There hasn't been a lot of horsing around. Pretty straightforward stuff. Even more than like tight, just bona fide tight play. I think we saw one funky 3-bet from Sorensen, and that's about it.
Here we go. Funky 3-bet alert.
And I just wonder if part of this has to do with the fact that the stream is catching up.
10.4.
Absolutely.
something like
That is another dimension today, being able to see the whole cards after the delay. Get some reads on your
10.5,
opponents.
10.6.
Now 11.5.
You know, word is reaching the players how tight everyone's playing.
Thank you, I
And
don't
now
have to count now.
They're opening their game up.
It's okay.
The re-raise gets through. Kaufman, by the way, online qualifier from Uruguay, exclusively a tournament player, made it to the final table a few days ago of the biggest live tournament in PokerStars history, finishing 8th in a field of 4,557 entries. That was the PokerStars National Championship here in Barcelona.
So we talk about what a long slog, what a long haul this has been.
Yeah.
6 days of this tournament, 5.5 at this point. He did it something similar a couple days before that. I mean, it's been almost twice that long for him. Can't imagine a 4,000 player field. They weren't playing short days in that event.
He's going to sleep for a week after today.
And a bet made of money.
Petkov on the button. Action's been folded to him. King 4 offsuit. Yeah, he's opening up his game a little bit.
Which currency do you think would be the comfiest to stuff your mattress with? The euro, the pound?
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin. Is there any country that uses goose feathers as currency?
Andre Akari has an ace in the small blind, ace 9.
So this is a really interesting one here because ace-9, if it were to re-raise in this situation, it doesn't play very well after the flop. It's a scary hand to play after the flop. That said, it is ace-9. This is much better than the average hand, so it's a dicey one.
Short-handed aces are always pretty strong. Ace-9 is a dangerous one. It's the best worst ace, or the worst best ace, really. Ace-10 makes a whole new ball game because you can flop a straight with it. Ace-9 is often outkicked.
There's a big difference there.
Yeah.
Big difference between ace-10 and ace-9, like you said.
Huge drop-off because of that whole straight flopping thing.
Akari picked a good time, though, against the king 4. It's going to work out.
The re-raise gets through. Andre Akari playing around 11 million chips, as are Lachizar Petkov and Brian Kaufman. Sorrentino and Sorensen, similar sounding names, similar size stacks. 8.7 million for Sorrentino, 8.4 million for Sorensen.
I mean, even though you see an almost 3 million chip difference between Petkov and Sorensen, that is not a lot of big blinds.
Just 5 minutes to go until the end of this level and the first break of the day.
Also, just to give you guys some perspective, each of these players you see sitting in front of you with 11 million in chips, 8 million in chips, they all started with 30,000 chips.
See, that's the thing. It's like a tombstone is really what you're sitting on. You're sitting on a bunch of graves.
That's right.
Of players that have
Built
been destroyed.
On the backs of other fallen players.
My 5K's in there. It's on that table.
Jamie's
somewhere.
30,000 chips are somewhere spread amongst this table.
In fact, look, it's if I count up 1, 2, it's that one there. That's yours, Jamie. 7-6 of clubs, suited connectors for Petkov, and he is raising 525,000. Andre Akari has folded. Sebastian Sorensen in the small blind with 8-7.
Finkel's Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel.
Okay. This is pretty weird. 8-7 offsuit is not a great hand. I'm not sure why Sorensen's choosing to call this one in the small blind. A little bit surprising to me. Now, it is a good situation here in that he's up against 7-6.
Somehow he's dominating, and somehow he flops an open-ended straight draw.
Queen 10-9 on the flop. Action on Sorensen.
Now, Jamie, even though this is an open-ended straight draw, it's not a great one, right?
It isn't, no, because if a jack comes making the straight, like any king beats that straight, and it's fairly obvious there's 4 to a straight on the board. So it's not the strongest straight draw. That said, if we take a step back and we think from Petkov's position here, when he sees a call in the small blind, that usually smashes this board. A lot of king queens, king jacks, jack 10 type hands.
Queen 9, jack 9. Just, I mean, it's really hard typically in the small blind to not have a pair or a draw on this board.
And Sorensen is not playing in flow. He did not check to the razor. He leads for 950,000. Petkov is sitting there with just 7 high. Pretty easy fold.
That was a move. That's what Sorensen just did. He pulled a move, straight up.
I think that move, I mean, you're going to get better hands to call most of the time, though.